Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger. Up next on the GM, avoiding a Buffalo Bills fate. Do me a quick favor, hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. So, I know that we've all been watching the Buffalo Bills implode as we've watched them release marquee names off of their roster over the last couple of days. And it's not because they wanted to, it's just simply because they had to. When you're $14 million over the cap, you don't have a choice but to make hard decisions. And I've seen Baltimore Ravens fans and content creators be a little bit excited about the Bills' demise. But what I caution us as a fan base is to not point fingers and laugh, but to be super, super attentive to what we do in Baltimore. You see, because the truth is, we're not far off from that. Let's tell the truth. When the Baltimore Ravens franchise tagged Justin Metabike, it put them $10 million over the cap, basically. Well, the truth is, if the NFL had not boosted the salary cap an additional 10 plus $1 million, we would actually be $20 million under the cap. And we would have to make some more drastic cuts, right? And when I say more than what we would have to make this season. You see, part of the Bills' problem, the reason why they got to that $40 million um, uh, overage, that's a good word, is because they continue to restructure and kick money down the road in order to make room to retain their own Pro Bowlers and good roster pieces, and then also to make space to bring new pieces in. The fact is, the Bills never really got close to winning a Super Bowl, and now the bill has come due. No pun intended. And the Baltimore Ravens aren't far off from that, right? See, because the talk is that in order for the Baltimore Ravens to get near the cap, meaning to get even, and to create some space to bring in or retain our own free agents, that we're going to have to do some restructuring. What does restructuring do? The same thing it did for the Bills, the same thing it has done for the New Orleans Saints for the last 4 years, the same thing it did for the Washington Commanders, the same thing it's done for the Miami Dolphins. It's created an overage, and you're going to have to make hard cuts, right? And the truth is, now the Bills are releasing big time players, right? Or players with big names at least, and they don't even have a ring to show for it. And see, if the Baltimore Ravens uh, restructure Ronnie Stanley, who has a $26 million cap number this year, Marlon Humphrey, $22 million cap number this year, Marcus Williams, $18 million, Mark Andrews, $16 million. All that's all their cap hits, cap numbers for this year, right? They're only going to save a collective 20 plus $1 million, right? But what is that going to do? It's going to pile up money at the end. And you can't have signed your franchise quarterback, but not be able to continue to put pieces around him. See, the four guys I just named have what I call a dead or a dying contract, a contract that no longer produces a return based on what you put into it. See, if we start cutting bait, I'm talking about one calendar year between 24 and 25. If we cut bait with all four of those guys, okay, we have a more likely chance or more than likely chance to stay super competitive while getting younger and less expensive. You see, we already understand that it's time to replace Ronnie Stanley. We just don't have a person in place. We understand that Marlon Humphrey, since he signed his deal, has not been super productive because of injury. We understand since we brought Marcus Williams in, he's been hurt both seasons. We understand those things. We understand that Mark Andrews has been hurt the last couple of seasons, but that does not negate the fact they have big contracts, right? And here's a real truth. A player doesn't get better with age or less injured with age. They, in fact, get less productive and more injured. So there is no real benefit to kick the money down the road unless we're going to really go all in. I want you to hear me very, very clearly. To restructure deals and kick money down the road to compromise a later year while we have a Super Bowl window open doesn't make sense unless you're going to go all in. It makes no sense to restructure bad deals to bring in or retain supplemental parts. It doesn't. Yeah, Ronald Darby was good, and Jadeveon Clowney was good, and Kyle Van Noy was good. But does it make sense to kick bad money down the road just for supplemental parts? Right? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. See, we currently have 46 guys under contract. That's not including the draft picks, of course. That doesn't include Meta BK because he's not even signed yet, right? And so and so we have a lot of work to do. And so restructuring deals is not the work we need to do. I think it's time to begin to weed out these dead and dying contracts. I think that the Baltimore Ravens must cut Ronnie Stanley unless they've cut him by the time this video comes out. That's $15 million right there, right? That gets us basically $5 million above the cap. They must cut Tyus Bowser. That gets us $10.5 million above the cap. With those two moves, we are now above the cap. We can do business. And see, that's with no restructure. That's not kicking Lamar Jackson's money down the road when he has a $70 million cap number in 24, excuse me, in 25 and in 26. That's not kicking Marlon Humphrey's money down the road when he has a $25 million cap number. Marcus Williams, $18 million over the next 2 seasons. Mark Andrews, $16 million over the next 2 seasons. See, and then of course Ronnie Stan will be cut. It doesn't make sense to do that when you can get on board. Then you can figure out if you make those two moves and now we're 10 plus million and we're ready to do business. Now you can figure out what to do with Patrick Ricard. Do you extend him to bring his cap number down for this season? See, that's the question. Now, do you go, instead of restructuring, do you go to Marlon Humphrey and ask him to take a pay cut? Or let him know, you know what? Your days are numbered. It's time to make the tough decisions. It's time. I like Marlon Humphrey just like the next dude. But we have to admit he hasn't been that guy on the field. The Baltimore Ravens, if they make those two moves and if they do what they need to do and get a deal done for Meta BK, we're in business. But if we stumble and don't get a deal done with Meta BK and we restructure these guys versus releasing some of these guys, we're going to create a problem for ourselves. Because whatever Meta BK's deal is right now, if they resign him, that's just another big contract that's going to compromise those restructures if that's what we do. See, it's time to have clean books. It's no surprise why the Kansas City Chiefs stay at the top of the mountain for the last 6 years because they have clean books. They have less than $2 million in dead money. Why? Kept the books clean. Kept the books clean. Now they may only have $3 million in cap space, but they're not having to let go of any big name players. In fact, when they franchise tag L'Jarius Sneed, that still left him over the cap. Our problem is we've been kicking bad money down the road, and now it's time for us to make tough decisions. Let me know what you guys want me to know, man. Do you guys think that cutting Ronnie Stanley with a June 1st designation and go ahead and cutting what's his name, Tyus Bowser, which will save $5.5 million for the June 1st designation, that puts us $10 million above cap. Now we can do business. Do you think those are the best two moves? Or do you think there's another? And by the way, for those of you who will say, well, cutting Ronnie Stanley leaves a big hole at left tackle, there's a hole anyway. When it takes two guys to play one position, that's a hole anyway. If Ronnie Stanley can't handle his position on his own, then he needs a new home. I'm your guy Boulanger. I'm out.